This man has no idea that the city around him is about to vanish from the face of the earth, and that, almost 2,000 years later, you will be looking at the bread he never got to sell. This is Pompeii, a busy Roman town on the Bay of Naples. We don't know his name, so let's follow an ordinary baker through what no one yet knows is the city's final day. Historians can't tell us his exact story, but thanks to what the ash preserved, we can reconstruct his world in extraordinary detail. Pompeii is not a ruin of empty temples. It's a snapshot of normal life. Archaeologists have found around 35 bakeries here. In one of them, 81 loaves were still sitting in the oven when the end came. Round loaves, scored into segments like a pull-apart bread, some even stamped with the baker's name. Our baker sells to people on their way to work. And where do they eat? At one of roughly 150 thermopolia, Rome's version of fast food. Stone counters set with deep jars kept stews, chickpeas, and wine warm for the crowd. The walls themselves talk. They're covered in election posters, advertisements, and graffiti. Jokes, insults, declarations of love. If you want to know what ordinary Romans actually thought, you read their walls. Pompeii also knew how to enjoy itself. Above the everyday bustle rose temples, a forum, and bathhouses where the whole town washed, gossiped, and did business. Its stone amphitheater, one of the oldest in the Roman world, could seat the entire population. In the year 59 AD, a gladiator show there spilled into a bloody riot between locals and visitors from neighboring Nuceria. So many were killed and wounded that the Roman Senate banned games in Pompeii for 10 years. And the streets still speak. A mosaic at one doorway warns Cave Canum, beware of the dog. Walls carry love notes, insults, even the prices from a brothel. 2,000 years on, it reads like a city's private diary. Behind all of this sits Vesuvius. But here's the strange part. The people of Pompeii didn't see it as a volcano at all. Its slopes were green with vineyards. There was no living memory of it ever erupting. There had been a warning, of a kind. 17 years earlier, around 62 AD, a powerful earthquake had wrecked much of the town. In the year 79, Pompeii was still rebuilding, and in the days before the end, the ground trembled again. But the Roman writer, Pliny the Younger, tells us no one was alarmed, because tremors were simply common in this region. Later, Roman writers would claim there were omens, springs drying up, restless animals. But those stories were written long after the fact, by men who weren't there. On this morning, as far as anyone in Pompeii knew, it was just another ordinary day. Then, around 1 in the afternoon, it began. Across the bay, a teenager named Pliny the Younger watched a gigantic cloud rise over the mountain. He described it shaped like an umbrella pine, a tall trunk of ash climbing into the sky, then spreading into branches at the top. His account, written years later to the historian Tacitus, is the only eyewitness record of the disaster that survives. His uncle, Pliny the Elder, commanded the Roman fleet nearby. He gave the order to sail toward the mountain, partly curiosity, partly to rescue people trapped along the coast. It was a decision that would cost him his life. In Pompeii, the sky turned black at midday. Then the pumice began to fall, light, porous volcanic stone raining down by the millions. At first, it was a strange spectacle. Within hours, it was deadly. The stone piled up fast, knee-deep, then deeper. Roofs groaned under the weight and began to collapse. Our baker faces the choice that everyone in the city now faces: run or shelter and wait it out. Many fled toward the sea, stumbling through the dark with whatever they could carry. Others sealed themselves inside, hoping the rain of stone would simply stop. It did not. The truly lethal blow came later, in the night and the early morning. The towering column finally collapsed, and the mountain sent down pyroclastic surges, avalanches of superheated gas and ash moving faster than a person can run, hot enough to kill in an instant. By the time it was over, Pompeii had vanished under meters of ash and stayed hidden for almost 17 centuries. When archaeologists later dug it out, they found strange, empty cavities in the hardened ash. In 1863, Giuseppe Fiorelli realized what they were: spaces left behind by bodies that had decayed away. By pouring plaster into the voids, he recovered the shapes of the people themselves, in the very positions they were in at the end. These casts are not a special effect. They are the closest thing we have to looking the disaster in the face. For centuries, people imagined the victims slowly choking in ash. The science tells a harsher story. When the pyroclastic surges swept through, temperatures reached several hundred degrees, hot enough, researchers found, to kill in a fraction of a second, even for those sheltering indoors. That is why so many of the casts seem frozen mid-motion, limbs clenched. Not the pose of a long, gasping death, but the instant grip of extreme heat. Closer to the mountain, at the town of Herculaneum, it was even more violent. It was faster than fear. A whole population stopped, mid-gesture, in the same moment. Then Pompeii simply disappeared. Buried under meters of ash, its very name faded from the map for almost 1700 years. It was only in 1748 that organized excavation began, under the King of Naples, and the world slowly grasped what lay beneath the fields. Not just a ruin, but an entire Roman town caught in a single instant. Its meals, its laundry, its graffiti, it's dead. No other place lets us stand so completely inside the ancient world. Pompeii didn't just die that day. It was preserved. We will never know our baker's name, or whether he ran or stayed. That part is a reconstruction. But the bread in his oven is real. The graffiti on his walls is real. The fast food counters, the half-rebuilt houses, the green slopes of a mountain nobody feared. All real, all preserved by the very thing that destroyed them. Pompeii is a reminder that history isn't only kings and battles. Sometimes it's a single ordinary morning, frozen forever. If you want more of the ancient world brought back to life, follow along. There's a whole lost world waiting in the ash.